Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Amigos, the podcast about everything Amiga. Amigos is a proud member of the Throwback Network, your home for quality retro podcasts. And now, here are your hosts, Aaron Dowdy and John Bodovkar Schaller.
Hey everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to talk about brutal football.
Yeah.
But before we do, we have...
Brutal Presents.
Yeah, a nice looking package here.
Where's that from, Bo?
This is from Motika, New Zealand.
Oh, boy.
All the way from Middle Earth.
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
So, I'm going to open this thing up. Hopefully not cut myself.
Watch out for the swastika-like lettering on
It's
the side.
RS. They're good people in New Zealand. And we get newspaper to look at, too.
Oh, boy.
I remember how much fun that was from... Now, this is going to be probably...
I honestly have no idea what this is.
Look at this. Look at this. This is the leader.
The leader is good. The leader is great.
The Tasman edition. And they've got a girl. This is great. I'm going to read you this.
What is happening in this picture?
Michaela Isherwood watches her sister Stella Isherwood compete in the Merman Limited Junior Possum Throw.
That's what I thought you was doing.
She is throwing a possum. Look at that. I'm holding it up for all of our
New Zealand
YouTube
sounds a lot
watchers.
like West Virginia.
It does. It does. We'd be right at home there.
That's a Tasman edition. Did you see that?
So I won't go through all this now, but this is going to be good reading
Let's
later
have a look
on.
at that, eh?
But are you ready for the? This is the unknown object.
Have you ever thrown a possum, by the way?
I've never been in close contact with a possum. I see them deceased on the side of the road, but that's about it.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. I'm
Okay,
sorry. I got
here we go. I'm
Possum.
pulling it out.
All right. Ugh. Oh, boy.
Oh my gosh! So this is incredible.
So small. Oh.
Sorry. Okay. This is a letter from Gary, and it was printed on thermal paper. It
Nice
was,
touch.
oh yeah, it was printed on a Spectrum thermal printer.
Nice touch,
I haven't
nice
seen
touch.
one of these in a while.
I've never seen one of these, so this is great.
Hey guys, here's a little something to say thanks for your great podcast. It's not Amiga related, but you mentioned it, so I thought you may enjoy exploring it. The Sinclair ZX Spectrum, affectionately known as the Specky, was my second computer after owning a Sinclair ZX81. The step up from 1 kilobyte of RAM to the Specky's 48 was mind-blowing. It also supported color and sound. There are plenty of resources online so you could load this baby up with tons of cool games via your PC sound card. Thanks again, and cheers from New Zealand. Kind regards, Gary.
Oh, thank you, Gary. So kind.
Seriously, I've wanted one of these for a very, very, very long time.
Now, let me have a look at that boat. I've never held one of these. I never thought I would. Look at that. That is something, eh?
It's so compact.
It is,
you
eh?
know? That's the whole system right there.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out
We're gonna have to get a power inverter.
and light too, eh?
Yeah.
That is something. What a nice gift. Thanks
Yeah.
a lot, man.
Thank you, Gary.
We'll put it to good use, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just watching. There's what you do is you load it up. You load up your phone with the cassette files, and you plug it in the audio jack right there, and you just hit play on your phone, and it loads the cassette because the computer thinks it's a cassette playing. It hears the audio file.
No shit.
Yeah. Isn't that
I
crazy?
was wondering what he was talking about. I said PC sound card. That's what he meant.
Yeah.
So did this thing ever have a disk drive or anything?
It had a cassette drive. I don't think it ever had a disk drive. If it did, it didn't sell well.
And this expansion port was used for what? Do you know more than this?
I've got the book, but
People are at home going, "What are you doing? You're idiots!"
But I think that see this mic right here. That's where you plug in your phone. That you basically just get an 1/8" jack on both ends.
Yeah. I've used cassette drives many times.
Okay.
I've never used my phone to do it. I never even thought about that. I never thought I'd ever even touch one of these things in my whole life.
one of my professors in college in England, he had one and he pulled it out, but he didn't let me touch it.
I bet this is the only ZX Spectrum in all West Virginia.
I guarantee you that's the case. Guarantee it. And he's included the power lead here with the end of it cut, so we can maybe attach it to another lead.
Oh, sure, yeah. It says here 9 volts DC. That's no problem.
Yeah.
We'll figure that. We can get that easy.
So
that is something.
I'm going to reattach this note on here, and this will be taken picture of and put on the Facebook page and Twitter and everywhere.
That's crazy.
So.
That is crazy, man.
Yeah.
I never would have thought it. Riveting radio, I'm sure, but we're taken aback with this nice present.
Thank you so much, Gary.
Yes, I appreciate it very much.
We also got some other feedback on our Alien Breed show.
Okay.
Lauren,
I played that game a little bit this week, a little bit more. And I got better at it, and it's a really good game. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, Laurent Giroux, he said, did you know that it's actually possible to shoot the doors instead of using a key to open them?
No, I did not know that.
I guess it wastes a lot of ammo.
I was going to say, we're always so low on ammo.
Yeah, it takes a lot of ammo to do it, but if you're in a situation where you need to get through, you can do it.
Good tip.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Lauren. We got feedback from Daniel Cordell, who said that he started listening to us after the Retro Asylum guys plugged us on their show last week.
Thanks for them for that.
Yeah. And so thanks for listening. And he said he had some comments on Micro League Wrestling.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Someone watched that show?
Apparently, there was a new version of the game made only for the Amiga in 1990. It was an Amiga-only release. And so we may have to revisit that.
I thought we were playing that release. There was a newer one?
There was a newer one. Because the one that we played was from the 80s. It wasn't from the 90s. Yeah.
Wonder what wrestlers were in that.
He said $1 Million Man's in there.
Oh, maybe it's a data disc.
It might be a data disc. It might be just an update. Then he also said, this is a little off topic.
Of all the games.
He said there was something out for the PC called ESWF. Have you heard of this? Edge of Survival Wrestling?
I'm not.
And he said that it looks like, it's kind of like Micro League Wrestling, but it's got, you use your mouse to get out of a pin, and there's other moves, and it's all mouse-based. So it's kind of wacky.
Might be interesting to look at.
Yeah. And so thank you for that, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm glad to see someone, it's funny that I actually went and looked at the numbers on Micro League, because we just talked about. It's actually not doing that bad.
No, it's starting
it's picked up.
It's got a long tail. I'm telling you.
If you look at of all the shows we did that were the true duds that no one seemed to want to hear, that one was rock bottom for the longest time. But I don't know if we've legendized it by talking about it over there, but it's coming up quickly.
Yeah.
It's no longer on the bottom.
If you haven't seen it yet, folks, check out our live stream.
We're really at our
League
best
Wrestling.
on that one.
Chris Folds wrote in, and he said that he played Lionheart over the weekend.
Yes.
And he said that in his memory, it was a 9 out of 10, but when he went back to it, it got down to a 4.
Oh, come on, Folds. Oh, what are you doing to me, man? A 4?
And he said that that's what he likes about our input on the show. We play them right before we talk about them, so the memory's fresh. And he asked, have we played Escape from Coldez yet? Have you heard of that?
Absolutely not.
So I checked this out. This looks like a game that we should try out. It's an isometric perspective where you're trying to escape from a prison.
All right.
Like a POW camp.
Okay.
And so I was just wondering if you'd heard of it.
No, I've not heard of that.
And the last thing that he said is that he's been participating in this thing called a Retro Gaming League.
Yeah.
And have you heard of these things
I
before?
have.
So just in case you haven't at
probably
home.
one going on at the Retro Asylum forums, I believe.
Yeah. He said there was one for Retro Asylum, and then there's another one that's not affiliated with them. Mm-hmm. And they just basically pick a random game for a random system, and everybody plays it for a week, and there's high scores and stuff like that. So it seems like a cool way to get you to open up that back catalog. Sometimes we go straight to our favorite games. I know with Maine, I've got my go-to games that I play most of the time, and this would kind of open your eyes a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. We should go do that. We should represent West Virginia in the show. We should go in there and we should do our best.
Right.
We should represent ourselves poorly.
And we got feedback from Paul Kitching.
Which one?
This is the Paul Kitching that did not design our backdrop.
Okay.
The other Paul Kitching.
I'm glad I asked.
And he said that we've been mispronouncing H.R. Geiger's name.
Yes, I saw this. And I'll say what I said on the when I typed a response. for years and years and years, I have always heard it pronounced Geiger, all right, which is wrong. I admit that freely. That said, I think there's if not a pocket of people, then half of a nation of people that have been pronouncing it incorrectly for a long time.
There's a lot of words we mispronounce in the United States. Notre Dame. That's not how you say that.
Well, listen. Right down the road from where I lived in Lexington, where's Versailles.
Right.
We live in Hurricane.
We are not the linguistic masters.
No, we just butcher stuff because that's what we did.
Yeah,
It's America.
And he said that Aaron, he just realized that you were not that you're talking about using a controller. And he said he can't imagine playing some of these games with a controller.
Thank you,
and so,
thank you, Paul. Finally.
Yeah, and
although today not too bad, but yeah.
And he just had a quick BBS story to share. He said, I got online too late for the Amiga BBS scene, but I have fond memories of FXPing. I think he means FTPing in Windows 95. I had a 56, this is him writing, I had a 56K modem then. You could still transfer data from one FTP site to another at the speed of light because it didn't have to be dragged down my own tubes. And there were top secret no ratio FTP sites loaded with freebies, all neatly organized into categories. Do you remember the FTP days?
Yeah, very recently actually.
Oh.
When I first got the CD32, there's a certain CD32 FTP out there that is very renowned, very free, and I used it just in the past, say, 3 years. So yeah, I still occasionally find. In fact, I FTP stuff to my Xbox all the time.
Oh.
So that much said, FTPs were awesome, especially if you're once the internet came around. If you were, exchanging software via the IRC channels, that was a pain in the butt. I can tell you that right now. And then of course there was always binary, Usenet stuff, but for the longest time that was a colossal pain until they got some nice readers out there that could do the job of getting this stuff together. That was a real pain in the butt. So yeah, unfortunately I've seen them all. So yeah, but FTP, geez, that was a much better step than a lot of the other ones were.
Yeah.
50 on 56. I'm trying to think if I ever FTP'd on a modem. You sure he doesn't actually mean FXP and we just don't know what that is?
No, I mean
When did you ever FTP on a modem? I mean, on a 56K dial-up modem? I'm not sure I've ever used that to FTP anything.
Sure, isn't that? I mean, like when you went on like Ware sites and stuff like that.
No, you didn't know no FTP, man. You were just downloading that stuff off the site. So FTP. When I think FTP, I think like FTP sites.
You're right. It's like a folder structure, right? Like Windows Explorer.
That's not the way it looked online. On BBSs, you would go like, for example, you would go to you go to the file section, and you'd be like, okay, I want Amiga demos, and you hit the button, and it would give you a list of what they had, and you would say like download or D, and then you would pick the file you'd want. You type the name usually, and it would start transferring via like Z modem or something.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely used FTP with Windows 95 or Windows 3.11.
Yeah, online.
Yeah.
I'm not honestly. I don't think I ever used it on.
Talk to your brother. He's the one that showed me how to do it.
I mean, I know how to do it. I personally don't remember ever doing it.
Maybe you. Well, at that time, maybe you were already on broadband when I was still on.
Probably so. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Spectrum Next. Finally, we just got the ZX Spectrum. The Spectrum Next and what it might mean in the future
I've heard a lot about this thing.
For the Amiga. So what do you know about the Spectrum Next?
It's a modernized version. It's going to have modern ports. It's going to have... I saw one of the things they had talked about was the ability of it to eliminate color clash, which they talked about that on Retro Asylum this past week, and some people were up in arms because they didn't want the color clash to go.
Right.
I know enough about the Spectrum to be dangerous, but not effective in any way. So I don't know everything that the Next has, but I mean it's basically someone's modernized the it's sort of like a new version of Spectrum in a modern day.
Right.
That's going to play the old stuff. In a much easier to use way.
Yeah, and the thing that makes it the most interesting to me is that it's not hardware emulation. It's actually this FPGA board.
Right. Very similar to.
And I think that there's a huge opportunity for this for the Amiga. But then I was listening to. Have you listened to this week's, or maybe it was last week's Retro Hour?
I have indeed with the vampire.
Yeah,
guy.
and that guy was on there talking, and of course the Spectrum Next, they want to sell it for like 175 pounds,
Yeah.
like the same price that the Spectrum originally came out for. The guy, the vampire guy, he's like, well, if we do this, it's going to be at least 500 quid.
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
heard
like,
that.
is it just because it has the Amiga name on it that you're going to charge 5 times as much for? I mean, if you're talking about the same core, that FPGA, that MIST core, what could possibly make it cost 4 times the cost of the Spectrum?
I believe what he was talking about when he mentioned that would have been another chip. I mean, it would have been a faster processing chip than what is on there currently for the vampires. I think that's what he meant, and I think that's why the cost would increase. It's funny, the Retro Hour guys and our buddies over there, we love those guys. They were good to go. 500 quid, just sign me up. I was going, that's a ton of money.
Yeah.
I think the vampire. I've never quite narrowed down the price.
We talk about this a lot.
I think it's
our
a couple
uncertainty.
hundred bucks. A couple $100.
It's doable.
Absolutely. Now,
500 pounds is like $700.
So, something here's the thing, and they mention it, and they're right. The guys retro modern, or actually that's sort of modern, but the Amiga accelerator boards like your those things go for top dollar.
Yeah. So there's
Top
the market's
dollar.
there for people that want to pay that kind of
But
money.
I mean, again, I'm like you. This is genuine Amiga accelerator boards that were made for the Amiga. They're not reprogramming the chip to do the job. So if they have the option of a big dog, super ultra elite version and then like a regular version, I'm cool with that. And they also, the thing that he talked about that I thought was interesting was the standalone unit.
Right.
But then I thought about that, because remember a couple weeks ago, someone, I think it was on Facebook somewhere, asked me, at what point, or we got some feedback, at what point is it no longer an Amiga? And we've talked about it. I think that's the point.
Right.
I think the standalone version is not the Amiga. I don't know. I don't know what it is at that point.
It's a different thing. It's a third thing. It's not an Amiga. It's not a PC running an Amiga emulator, but it's a third category.
This is a weird time. It really is if you think about it. Because like I said, God knows I've bought into the hype as much as anybody. Your 600s, your 500 have the AGA and HDMI out and have this SD card support also. It's going to be great. But I mean...
Yeah,
something's happening here.
The way that I see it is, if this paves the way for a lower cost, completely hardware accurate, rebranding or remaking of the Amiga. If I can buy something that looks like a 1200 and acts like a 1200 for half the price of a real 1200, it's a win. If it's more than an original piece of hardware, I don't care how fast it is. It's not a value proposition.
That is the thing. I mean, the fellow on the interview at the Retro Hour was saying, hey, we could really jack up the speed. Okay, I could run an emulator and jack up the speed.
Yeah.
I could. I mean,
I don't get the appeal.
I play Wings. And Wings, pretty intense on processing power game, right? And it runs better on the 1200 than it does on the 500. And you can tweak it to make it run super awesome if you want. But at what point? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess my question is, why do you need mega speed? I mean, and again, I feel like a hypocrite for going down this road because I've been like, boy, oh boy, you could run MP3s. But I mean, really, unless for cutesy reasons, if you're just playing games on it like we do, like we're the bottom of the barrel when it comes to Amiga stuff. We load it up, we play the game. It's pretty much all I do. I don't do any word processing. I don't use deluxe paint as much as I like it. And so, how much speed do you need to run the fast? So, what's the slowest game on Amiga? Like Gloom? I mean, how fast do you need it to go?
Right.
Really, and that's the thing. And $1,000. I mean, if I'm rendering stuff, I mean, again, I'm not saying there's no market for this at all. Hey, go nuts. If you can get 500, what is that, $750 for it, go nuts. But I just don't see what the point of it is, I guess. Maybe somebody could tell me.
Ravi, if you're listening to this and if you just let us know, because honestly, I want to know what what the advantage is, and I'm sure there are, because there's lots of people out there that really, really want fast Amigas. So.
I mean, I can understand the advantage of the modern ports and HDMI and SD card support and AGA. That I'll get all that. But I mean, having an Amiga that runs at, say, I don't know, 500 megahertz or a gigahertz, unless you're doing something, and I'm not talking about the other OSs, or the improved versions. I'm just talking about if you just want to play games on it. So I don't know. It's interesting though. It was an interesting interview. The standalone thing, depending on what they do with it, could be interesting. I just don't know. I don't know what form that's going to take.
There's a new C64 that's going to be a standalone unit that's got that same sort of core. I think maybe details are sketchy. So this is happening all over the place. People taking these MIST cores, these FPGAs, and slapping a injection mold body around them. And hey, if it gets more people interested in retro platforms, I'm all for it. I don't have anything against it. I don't care. I don't lose sleep over this stuff.
It is worth contemplating, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm going to shun somebody. Oh, you've got a fake Amiga 1200. What a loser! I'd be like, hey, you've heard of Amiga?
Right.
Gee, you're going to be hugged.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is.
If nothing else, it will make the price of the original systems go down, which will make people that want the original systems happy.
Maybe. I don't know. It's crazy.
Or maybe there'll be just crazy demand after all.
That's what I was just thinking.
You never know.
Send us your thoughts on this. I'd be interested to hear from you. I guess I've got 2 Amigas at home, and then plus the one you've got here. So I don't know if I'd feel differently if I had no Amigas and I had no money to buy Amigas. I might be like, for God's sakes, give me that standalone Amiga,
Right.
And God knows we have enough trouble with emulation.
Yeah. Speaking of new stuff, I have officially, as of last week, ordered the Defender of the Crown Collector's Cut.
Oh, okay.
And yesterday, I received an email from Sven.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sven.
Yes, hi Sven.
That it will be shipping next week.
Beautiful.
So
now they have started shipping some already, though, right? That's as of last week.
I did not inquire on the website. It had no information. But according to Sven...
Are you saying that crack website is lacking information?
So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have the Defender of the Crown Collector's Cut here. We'll have an unboxing. We'll look at all the cool stuff that's in it. Might even fire it up on the real Amiga 500.
Speaking of Defender of the Crown, I read, let me pull it up here, that they are getting ready to release a new version of the Defender of the Crown that they didn't know existed, and it's for the Spectrum.
Really?
Yes. How amazing this is.
I know what we're going to do with our Spectrum.
Interesting. I don't know if they had one and never released it. I didn't see any details, but they said they're going to release it. And then I guess they're also mentioned in the article that I guess they're going to go ahead with the Rocket Ranger, super duper cut, which I will be very interested in that. I guess maybe we'll get to play Defender of the Crown on the Spectrum.
Oh.
That would be something, wouldn't it?
I can't, I got that the Retro Gamer Spectrum big book, and I've just been loving paging through there. Those games just have they've got a look to them that other retro consoles don't have, just because of the hardware limitations.
It's just from what I've seen, and I've played some emulated stuff for the Spectrum. I mean, there's some diamonds in the rough. There's some crazy, weird stuff on that.
Yeah.
But Amiga's the same way in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. What news do you have for us this week?
Again, this was not the biggest news. Well, I guess there's a pretty big bit of news. A new outfit in Germany is bringing back the C64.
We literally just talked about that 5 seconds ago.
Is this the one you're talking about that has the so they're not bringing back the C64, then they're bringing back an emulated 64.
Right. It's got that FPGA MIST hardware.
So that's how they're going to do it. They're not going to make See, I didn't get the full scoop. I read a little bit of it, and they never really mentioned any of the hardware, and so I had no idea that's what they were doing.
Well, this is the same company that also has produced the replacement board. But from now,
the replacement PCB for the
C64, so it could be possible that they're slapping this in there too.
But
that doesn't have all of the modern outs. I don't think that this one is going to have. The information is very scant.
So you don't. So yeah, that's why I didn't know what. That's exactly. I read the article. I was like, oh, that's nice. They're bringing back C64. But that's pretty much all they
If
said.
you go to the website, there's not much there.
I did go to the website. Yeah, you're right. There's nothing there. So this makes me wonder. I saw it everywhere. Everyone posted it. They were very excited. But I don't know.
I like old stuff. You know, I like when stuff comes out that looks old. Am I going to buy it?
Here I am.
Probably not.
I've come out.
But,
I look old.
But I mean, we'll see.
We've got C64s here. We haven't got to figure out how to use it.
Right. I'm gonna have to put up some more shelving up here.
We
for all these
need
friends.
like an extra day of the week that we can just play with this stuff. We've got stuff.
I've got that Apple too. I've only fired it up one time ever.
Well, it's an Apple. I don't give a about that.
We got some site. Oh, you have any more news, or is that it?
That's
this week?
pretty much it. I was
Okay.
going to mention the interview about the vampire. I mean, I would. If anyone interested in the vampire, I don't know how many people that listen to the show are actually really into it, or maybe no one gives a crap about it. Just want to hear about it.
I hope you like it because we literally talk about it every
Well,
week.
I'm slamming on the brakes here until I got one in my hands. But it's going to be interesting to see where it happens with that. And you're right, just like the Next and this other stuff. I mean, this is where it is now. So we're gonna have to.
It's a new era.
It's good.
Yeah. You got some site updates this week. A lot of stuff going on the website.
Oh yeah, I read some really good articles in there this week.
We've got Dreamcatcher talked about. There's they have these teen reacts videos. Teens react to Nintendo. Teens react, and this is a guy reacting to an Amiga 500. And of course, if he would have loved it, there would have been no story. But the fact that he gets a lot of stuff wrong, and the thing is dirty, and he blames it for being dirty, even though so everyone has a hardy ho at this guy.
Did you watch that video?
I have not seen it.
I watched the video.
I'm sure. Did it anger you immensely? I hope it did.
Well, I watched it. See, the funny thing is, by the way, I think this has gotten more comment action
It has.
than any
It's
of our
gotten
other.
tons of action.
The truth of the matter is, I did watch it. This guy's got one hell of an accent, and if someone really knows what it is, it's real thick.
Does he sound like us?
No,
Oh.
he's from somewhere in the UK.
Okay.
He's got a real crazy voice. But basically, he ordered the Amiga on eBay, I believe is where he got it. And when he got it home, he decided to take it apart and clean it. And when he pulled it apart, he pulled the processor, the 68,000 chip out. And when he did that, he pulled a leg off of it. And so he was right out of the gate, he was not happy. Mm-hmm. And then he thought it had a PCMCIA slot, and he got to have a bunch of his facts wrong. And the guy was pissed off, and he just ruined his machine. And he was upset. And if you go back, the funny thing is, and someone pointed this out and I went and watched, if you go back and look, he's got another video up where he bought a 1200, which he's much more excited about. And he sort of, as someone pointed out on the site there, he sort of goes back and he's like, well, maybe I didn't quite look at this in the right frame of mind, which he didn't.
Yeah.
So I didn't pummel or destroy this guy. At first, I was like, I'm going to destroy a sucker. I'm going to destroy it. But after I watched the video, I was like, well, it's just a guy. I didn't know what he's doing. Hey, I don't know jack squat about this. If you hand me that spreadsheet, said, here, get it going.
Right.
I'd just be like, what the hell is this little thing? Is this a computer? Is this a keyboard? What is it?
Yeah.
So I forgive.
We also got a new article today from Will Williams. This is really great. This is information that is consolidated in a way that you can understand. If you're interested in setting up a SCSI hard drive on your Amiga, you need to check this article out because he takes you through step by step what you need, the process to do it, some pitfalls that you can avoid. So we really appreciate Will continuing these kind of how-to, more technical articles.
Yes. Have you ever set a SCSI up on anything?
No.
I have, and it's a pain.
That's what the Xbox runs on, isn't it?
No. The Xbox, the original Xbox,
Yeah.
no, it's IDE.
Oh, okay.
You have, for our 500 here, I think, a SCSI interface. So we may have to go back and really have an in-depth read on that because it's been a long time since I fooled with it. But yeah, SCSI was sort of the Amiga hard drive setup until the 1200 went with IDE.
What is the timeline after IDE? What came after that? SATA?
Yes.
Okay. So
Well,
SCSI,
there's
then
IDE,
IDE,
and there's the wide versions of both, and there's each one of them, there was more to it than just saying here's IDE. There was like Ultra and blah blah blah, and SCSI had its own sort of variants.
Branches of the tree.
But yeah, it was. And SCSI was always the ripple in IDE was SCSI was a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, that's what I always heard. SCSI's faster, but I knew it was a lot more complex. The funny thing is, back in those days, I could afford no hard drive, so I would have taken SCSI out anything I could get hold of.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, good article. I was very pleased to see that. I'm gonna bookmark that for later use.
Dreamcatcher has published another issue. He's been on a roll of these Amiga scours.
How many hours does this guy take to do these? I mean, this was long.
Yeah.
And he had so much weird, goofy stuff in this thing.
I just barely glanced at it. I like to take my time when I read these.
Oh, you got to.
And but check that out. And
it's wacky.
The last thing is that I attempted earlier this evening to do a Count Duckula Amigos plays, because remember we got that box of games from from O'Brien's that had Count Duckula. But the sprite, the game loaded fine, the intro and everything, but when I started playing, the sprites weren't there. It's some kind of emulation error. Everything else loaded, and I watched a playthrough, and I could actually move. I pushed the controller left, and the screen would scroll like the sprites were there, but they just didn't show up. So
I'll have to work on that.
Yeah, O'Brien's, we're working on those games. So just wanted to give you an update on that.
Yeah.
All right, boy, that was a lot of stuff. But now it's time. It's time to talk about brutal football.
It's brutal. Well, for starters, I actually own this game. Here it is. Ooh.
Is this the first time that you've brought over a game that you've owned on the show?
I can't remember. It might be. It's funny thing is I've owned, I own Rise of the Robots. Did I bring Rise of the Robots over?
No, I don't think you did.
And here's the back,
Maybe you did.
in case you care. When I bought the CD32, it came with a certain interesting game list, including this. And I had not played this, but I had heard good things about it. Mm-hmm. And so I was going in with a positive attitude. So, whoops, there it goes. I just destroyed it. I've got a couple other CD32 titles. I'm dusting out the CD32. I'm going to get it ready to go, and we'll have to just film some stuff with that, just sitting there playing with it.
All right, I'm ready.
Anyways, let's talk about this game. Brutal Football. It came out in 93. It's funny, this game, this is why I enjoy getting some of these more obscure games. It's not that obscure, but these are publishers and developers that we don't really deal with that much. We've seen, it's always Team 17 or Sensible or one of these outfits. So this is a couple. I think we've done Millennium, the publisher, because they did the James Pond series. Mm-hmm. This other outfit is called, the developer was Teque, Teque.
It's a strange name.
Yeah. They did a lot of like Atari conversions, from what I could tell. They did Badlands, Blastoids, Chase HQ, Clax. They did Munsters, which is, I think, is it amongst? Is that amongst?
Yeah, I think that's in there.
Pac-Mania, Pit Fighter, Tubin.
Yeah, a lot of those kind of Atari arcade classics.
I looked into them. I mean, there wasn't a ton to know. They were in London. They were a game development studio, and they had a sister company called. It was Teque London, and then the sister company was Teque. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Software Development Limited, and they worked independently but collaborated. I don't know why they would be split. There was probably some financial reason to do it. They were in East London and had an office in a place called Bow. Have you ever heard of that?
How do you spell that?
B-O-W
or
Bow. Then they moved to Greenwich, Southeast London. So if you're in London, you've probably heard of these guys. They ended up becoming Chrysalis Software, which we have heard of them.
What did they do?
A lot of stuff here. They, of course, look at that. I'll tell you, I've had a rough time with my printouts here recently. The guys at Teque, I said they did it ended up becoming Chrysalis, but it's basically the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They did Tubin and Pit Fighter. They did a few other, Atari. So maybe they just had some kind of deal. I don't know. Anyway, the Brutal Football came on 2 discs, or the CD32 version came on a CD. Now you could play 8 people at this game in a tournament format.
Mm-hmm.
You could
2 players simultaneous.
Yeah, 2 players simultaneous. Looking over the guys that put this thing together, I mean, really, well, the music was done by Richard Joseph, and we again, of course,
He's
he did James Pond and Chaos Engine, Cannon Fodder, Moonstone, Sensible Soccer, the Barbarian series. He's done a ton of stuff. A lot of these other guys we haven't seen much before. The concept of this thing was a guy named Dean Lester. I don't think we've ever talked about Dean Lester. He was behind Carl Lewis. Remember Carl Lewis?
Decathlon. It wasn't Carl Lewis Decathlon. What was it?
Well, this was Carl Lewis. Is like it was a Olympic game.
Yeah.
This is a game we got to look at. It's called Fernandez Must Die.
Ooh.
Yeah. He also did Shadowlands, Shadow World, and a game called Interface. He was the guy that came up with the concept for this. And the rest of his team, a lot of them didn't work on really much anything else. The names Wild Cup Soccer and Club and Country keep coming up. We're going to have to look into Wild Cup Soccer because apparently I think it's similar to this in a soccer format. The Brutal series was supposed to be a series as far as best I can tell. That seems to be what they imply, but as far as I can tell, at least on the Amiga, there was no other games released in the series. Mm-hmm. So, having seen this, I can see where Brutal. I don't know. I can't imagine the concept of this in another game. Really, now thinking about it. I mean, soccer, but this is sort of like soccer in some way.
You couldn't really make a Brutal baseball.
I was just thinking about this. Carry the bat around, beating the hell out of people. This game was out for the ECS, OCS. And eventually, they released the AGA CD32 versions. Mm-hmm. It's got wide joystick support, as we found out the hard way when we were trying to set this up on the the Amiga's Play. But it'll support 1, 2, and 4 buttons. And if you've got one of the game pads you're putting on CD32, those game pads are real interesting. Those CD32 game pads. I mean, they're not hideous, but I mean they're not the best game pads ever.
I don't know. I've never used one, so I can't.
It's sort of like an inverted boomerang. That's the best way, or like that's the best way I can describe them. You'll see them. I'll bring them over. Believe it or not, this actually got ported. Did you know that? And I actually looked at the ports just for fun. I
know there's a Jaguar version, right?
There's a Jaguar. Now you know why I'm interested.
Right.
There's an Atari Jaguar version, and there was a PC version. I had a good hard look at both of them this week, just to see how they stacked up, and I'll get into that a little bit. The premise of this game, it's pretty simple. You have you pick from a series of teams. These teams are sort of look like Nordic barbarians or Vikings.
Yep,
or
they're
something.
all white-haired men.
Yeah, they all look crazy, insane tough. Anyway, you pick your team, and then you and your opponent or the computer picks a team, and you go out on what's sort of like, I'd say it's more. Would you say it's more soccer-y than football-y? I don't know how it's sort of like a combo.
It's almost like ultimate frisbee too. Also,
it reminded me sort of like Australian rules football, except more chaotic and much more violent. But so your two teams, I believe it's 2 teams of 7, and you go out in the field, and a referee or in the version I play, which is the original chipset version, just looks like a dark figure. I noticed when we were playing the AGA version, it looks sort of like a minotaur or something. It would come out. And he tossed like a football up in the air, and then at that point, it's just do whatever you want. You can just, you can tackle, you can grab the ball and run, or you can pass the ball, or you can kick the ball. You can also scatter it around the field, and I'd say the field, much like what was the soccer game we played that had the little radar on it?
Oh,
Kickoff 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a radar at the top of the screen. Did you ever look at the radar?
No,
I never did either.
It's so small, and
I mean it's tiny.
Yeah, and it's funny because even a soccer game fan like Kim Justice, she talks about how nobody even ever looks at the radar.
Oh,
it's
good.
useless.
I feel better about
yeah.
my Kickoff 2 prowess now. And I'm sure the thing is, if you had, I kind of wish they'd done this like Sensible did, where you had a wider range of vision to me, but c'est la vie.
I guess you can have one or two things. You can have big sprites, or you can have.
And really, this wouldn't have worked with smaller sprites,
right.
So I understand the trade-off. But anyway, the game is set up on a large field. I don't know if it's. I never even run those. I think it's marked off for yards, so it's a 100-yard field. Mm-hmm. And then you and on either side of the field, the field is kind of walled in. Sort of like indoor soccer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except brick. And then on either side, the goals are these basically like picture like a big brick wall on either side with like a corridor
It's almost
carved out of it.
It's almost like a bus stop.
Yeah, about that size.
Mm-hmm.
And you try to run the ball or throw the ball or kick the ball into that.
Yeah.
hole.
Anyone works. You can run it in there. You can throw it in there. Whatever.
And I didn't know you could run it for the longest time, so it made it a lot easier. The game, so that sounds okay. You know, it's basically it's a very Speedball 2-ly,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then they spice it up. How do they spice it up? They throw a bunch of weapons and power-ups on the field. There's a ton of crazy stuff that comes out. Now, we were playing the version in here, and I didn't notice when I played. I've played a lot of League play on the old version. I didn't notice any of the axes, but they're in the books. In this book, I don't know if they just added them to the later version. But on the one I played, mostly it had swords, shields. There's a ton of stuff. They've got grenades. When you get these, it just has a little like a counter, and you can just toss them around and blow guys up. Bombs. You'll see a rabbit and a tortoise walking around. You know, if you run over the rabbit, your guy's like mega fast. I mean, super fast.
Mm-hmm.
If you run over the turtle, not good.
Don't do it.
You're super slow. You've got magic potions that can make you invisible, which I never saw that on when I played. Again, some of the stuff I don't remember seeing. It's got a repel icon. It makes the opposition bounce off of you. That's very that'd be very helpful if you're trying to run to the goal. Then of course you got the axes, and the axes you just basically run over them and toss them, and you try to dig them into somebody. There's an ice cube, and
It's not for the pop charts.
no, it's not. And there's something called a running ball, where the ball get up and run by itself, which I didn't see. Did you ever see that?
No.
And in 2-player mode, you get direction reverse.
Oh.
Reverses direction of your opponent's joypad.
Wow.
That's brutal.
It's possible that was affecting me and I didn't even know it.
That
Maybe
can't
that's why I scored all those goals
That
on
can't
myself.
be what it was. And then there's team swap. It swaps your team's
Are
controls.
you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
So they added in some crazy stuff. You can also change the formations of your team from aggressive, standard, and defensive. This all sounds very technical and interesting, but the bottom line is you run around like a damn maniac. I mean, it's chaotic, but it's controlled chaos to a certain degree. After a spell, I was able to pass and kick quite nicely.
The learning curve is not nearly as steep as kickoff.
Now, I will say, I played on the lowest dumb guy setting, which was beginner, baby sucking his thumb, stupid.
It switches the characters for you when you pass. It helps you locate the nearest person.
I will say, I enjoyed it a lot on that setting.
Yeah.
So, dumb me up, because I thought, I'm going to just keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure if someone that with a real good grasp of the game could go up to these, because I had a lot of different settings, which I like that.
But the thing is, I don't think that the game is deep enough to really warrant having the higher level. In Ireland right now, they're not having the World Cup of brutal sports football.
Well, I bet if you were really good at this, though, the extra controls could probably help you out.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm too bad to speculate on that. I played this game a lot this week, actually. More than I've gotten to play any of the games recently for a long time. I really had hours and hours to play it, and I played that crap out of it. It's on the original Amiga. It runs a little choppy, right? And the game is not lightning fast by any stretch of the imagination. It reminds me, actually, in terms of the way it moves, it's a little like TV sports football. It's just kind of that
slow motion feel as they're
It's not super.
running.
It's not molasses slow, but I mean it's slower than you would expect.
Well, I think that because the field is so small, they have to slow the guys down, or else you'd just be zipping back and forth.
Yeah. It's nothing more rewarding. And again, I'm going to compare it to Sensible Soccer. Sensible Soccer is a better fundamental game. All right. It's you can set up strategies and do stuff, and probably for a really good hand, you can really play it. That said, this has some of that satisfaction you get from completing passes or scoring a long goal.
Yeah.
It's also real satisfying to chop a sucker's head off or kick him. which you could also do, which I love that. And I'll have to say, I had kind of a crummy day at work the other day, and I came in and played this, and it really works out the tension quite nicely. Just it's great to behead everyone on the other team but one guy and win by beheadings. Another thing I like is the very first game of this I played with the computer, I went in overtime. Did you ever go into overtime?
No.
In overtime, there's no ball. All you do is you go around and kill as many people as you can as fast. So at the end of the game, you've killed the whole other team.
Wow.
So it's sudden death. They're not kidding. You suddenly kill everyone on the other team.
Wow.
After you win a game, and did you play this in league play at all?
No.
I played in league play quite a bit. And so after which you'd think, league play. It's not even as deep as, say, Speedball 2. In this, it shows your locker room. And, of course, all your players are sort of like, if you beat the game, you find out they're like Terminators or something. They're like robots, basically. But it shows in your locker room, it shows like all your guys and these tanks. And some of the guys are standing there like, and some of them are like, oh, God. And some of them are just like laying on the ground like, oh, Jesus. And so you've got three things you can do. You can give them aid, you can increase their skill, basically, or you can give them basically mega aid if they're really hurt. And that's where when you do something to the players, this little wall comes up and you hear different noise. And when you give them the super cranial aid, you hear drills and stuff. So I guess they're in there rebuilding these suckers. And you have a set amount of money that you can.
That's really interesting. See, I didn't even know about that aspect of the game.
Yeah, but really,
friendly.
You think to yourself, "Oh, that sounds neat." But in all honesty, this game has flaws, and I'd say the biggest flaw is it's not. If you're going to get into a league, the league play is weak. It's real weak because there is no strategy. I mean, you can heal your guys. You can there's only 3 options in a locker room, and you go out and just play again. Now, if you like the game, which I did, that's fine. And you want to increase your speed as much as you can, which is the third. So when I say skill, it makes them quicker. As you play, you'll find out there are a couple teams that aren't playable by a PC. I don't know if you saw any of these guys. I'm probably sure you did. There's a lizard team. Those guys can breathe fire.
Wow.
Yeah, and then there are goats. They look like rams. They have big horns. And then the super mega team of Doom are the rhinos. They're not very fast, but they'll run you over. They're super duper tough. I noticed now. I didn't see these on the CD32 version, so I'm guessing they're not playable. I know on the Jaguar version, I believe it was or it might have been PC, but they are playable. You can actually choose those teams from the main menu, which you can't do on this one. I had a look at this on the PC and the Jaguar. The PC version looked not that good. It was you know how the field looks very Madden-y almost in a way. This looked like a real crummy, I don't know, Flight Simulator 2 style.
Polygonal,
just junky. Right. It just looked. I mean, the guys looked okay. The stadium was it wasn't that good. It didn't look that good at all. So PC version, man. I will say, having watched the Jaguar version, it looked sharp. It probably without playing it, mind you, it looks like the best of the bunch. It's very much on par with, say, the CD32 version, but maybe a little bit better. Again,
I'd like to give that a shot.
I don't have her. I would. Something else I noticed that was kind of wacky is that the PC version has different team names. In the Amiga version, you've got, and maybe this was Americanized or something like that, but God, their names are so stupid. So in the PC version, you got the Mad Dogs, the Warlords, the Barbarians.
That's the Amiga version.
That's what I say. The Amiga version. That's what I mean. The PC version. Get these names. I don't know which name got changed to what. You got the Crankers, the Devils, the Nutters. Which how did
it's
that
got to
go
be
together?
British.
The Phantoms, the Jazzers, the Gooners, and the Zippies.
That sounds that
These are horrible names.
I'm sure that was a UK thing. That sounds like names they'd give their teams.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I was baffled. It's just one of those things you don't really think about. But I'm like, what is
Those
this?
names sound cool to people in England.
The Jazzers?
Yeah.
No one thinks that's cool. If
Chris
you think
Bowles,
that's
what do you
cool, what? Just because he always disagrees with me, now you're gonna start picking him out. I found out there's a way to cheat. I always find out whenever I can. You can, if you want to play in a league, you can type in a number. You can type L followed by a number, and you can basically go to that game in that level of the league, which is handy. What did you think of this? I've been talking for a while. What was your impression of this game? You played it, whatever.
I think this game had potential in the same way that Speedball 2 is a great game. Speedball 2 is a great game.
Correct.
This is not a great game. This game has several things going for it. The destructibility of the field is cool.
Yeah,
we
didn't mention that, but turf, big chunks of the turf come off the field.
The way that you can you can permanently disable your opponent by beheading them. It's very reminiscent of Nintendo World Cup, where you basically can do the same thing in a soccer setting.
You can kill a guy in that?
Yeah, I mean you can make them die on the field. Basically.
Jeez, that's crazy. I didn't...
it's which I think is a pretty great game. The stadium looks great. The graphics in general are very good. Where the game falls apart for me is that no matter what team you pick, your guys look exactly the same. We've got the red team and the blue team. They should have opened it up and made the lizard team pickable, the rhino team pickable. They should,
because those guys look way different.
Yeah, that would have been great. Making the game. It's very cluttered all the time, and it seems like the field, you could keep the sprites the way they were, but maybe just make the field a little bit bigger. I don't know. I think that's a hard thing to do when you're dealing with that size of sprites. And like you said, you can't make the sprites any smaller because you'd lose some of that animation. I think the animations are really good. I don't think it's a bad game. We've definitely played worse. I enjoyed it much more with 2 players than singly. And the stuff you were talking about with the league, even though it does leave something to be desired as far as, jacking your guys back up, at least they included that to kind of give you something to do in between matches.
I agree with you to a certain degree. I'm going to say something controversial. I enjoyed playing the actual game of this, the actual part where you're actually playing the game. I enjoyed it as much as I did Speedball 2.
Really?
I really, I enjoy, maybe I'm just a mean guy, but it's fun to just gut a sucker. I like to watch them kick the crap out of guys. I love coming up from behind and just beheading somebody and then kicking their head around, throwing it. I like the fact that you can kill your opponents to win. I like the fact that that the game is fun. I felt like I was in control of the game to a certain degree. I believe it or not, I felt more so on the 1-button version I was used to playing than the 2-button. But I thought everything involving the actual game was very fun. Just fun. The problem is you're right. They really missed an opportunity here to make this a deep, interesting game, where Speedball has it beat and others do as well. The tournament area is just lacking. Not the tournament, but the league. The tournament's just a tournament.
Right.
But
it's the bracket.
The league just doesn't. There's not enough options. I would like to be able to tweak my guys a little more. I'm not really a tweak guy either, but it would be more fun to be able to have a little more control over the team and having more options. Or maybe what would be awesome is be able to trade for guys or be able to build new guys.
Yeah.
Or so if you've played Cyberball, in Cyberball you can upgrade your certain characters.
Right.
That would be fun.
Yeah. If you get money after a match, you can upgrade. You can buy.
Yeah, it would be a lot. It would be neat. I mean, and the thing is, that stuff's easy. They did the hard part. They got the gameplay.
Right.
I would like for the game to run a little smoother. But again, I played the old version. The AGA version does run pretty smooth. It's not perfect.
It's pretty smooth.
They missed they missed some opportunities to just put those. We always talk about the little things that make it endearing to you. This seems like something they put out. They said, okay, we've got this game done. Let's go ahead and ship it. They didn't really care for it, really tenderly before they put it out. They could have added, even Speedball's got the guy, ice cream guy, and all the other stuff, and a few extra things in the field would have been interesting. Maybe an occasional pit opens up or something like that. I mean, you could get with this concept, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I feel like the power. They've already got a lot of stuff going on in the field with the power ups and stuff, but there's not really there's not an equivalent of the ice cream guy or a halftime show or something like that.
Even if you watch the opening, which I watched, and the opening of it is not that great either. I mean, the little cinematic thing shows the guys that they're coming out in the field. They could have been, again, it's just sort of like, well, here let's do the bare minimum.
Right. It would have been great if they would have at least maybe, like, for the main team that you play or whatever, have some player names or something like that.
Or, I mean, you can name the team, but it'd be cool to, like, I was watching the CD32 review of Cannon Fodder, and they were talking about how you get attached to these certain guys when they go to Boot Hill, you feel bad. That works.
Yeah.
Because we're humans. That's what we like. It would be cool to have, if everyone in the league had names and you could, oh, here comes this guy. I don't like him.
Yeah.
Now maybe we're reading too much into a game that's basically like a game that we just go out and smash people. This reminded me of something you'd play on, like, the Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
You get it, like, for $20 or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Or you rent it for the weekend.
Yeah. And, that much said, all that criticism aside, I did enjoy it a lot more than it had any right to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because I'm an American and I'm a big violent jerk. I just want to see people get chopped in half. But God, it was very gratifying to kick a lot of ass in this game. I have to say, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I looked up the eBay price of this bad boy. Surprisingly, there were none available in the U.S. and apparently hadn't been for some time.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe this never came out in the U.S.
The funny thing is, I've got a copy of it right here, and I think this is the NTSC version.
Maybe you've got a gold mine in your hands right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, I've looked up all the games that I got when I bought them, when I bought the machine, to see what they were going for. And I don't remember any of them going for jack squat. So suddenly there's been a surge on brutal football. I don't know. Somebody give me a call. In the UK, of course, you guys are the land of milk and honey. You guys get everything you want with the Amiga. You can get a box copy of this thing between $23 and $33 US. So pretty reasonable. There was only one guy selling the discs, and he was wanting $20. So again, that's kind of strange. And now the funny thing is, the Jaguar version, just for fun, I looked it up. I couldn't find any of the PC version. You can get the Jag version, $30 boxed. So kind of about the same price area. And some Jag games go for quite a bit of money.
Did Jaguar games, did they come in those Genesis, like, hard plastic cases?
The cases on the Jag are real interesting. You mean the actual box or the actual cartridge?
The box.
Do I have any that are in the box? I don't know if I've got any that actually came in the box. I think all the ones I've got were loose. So I'm not 100% sure about that.
Okay, I was just curious.
But overall, it's a fun game. I would like to. This game screams for a redo. I would love to see someone come up and remake it. It would be fun. And boy, multiplayer online, sign me up.
Yeah.
That would be a blast.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm going to give it a thumbs up with a caution that it's shallow. And which is
I agree. I'll give it a thumbs up. Just know what you're getting into, and just enjoy yourself. Beat up some guys for a little bit, work out some frustration.
Beat up your buddy, your brother, your girlfriend. Chop their heads off.
All right. Well, Aaron, it's time to thank our sponsors. So,
Thank you.
here we go. I'm going to sing it to the tune of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
You're going to sing it to the tune of Goodbye Listeners.
Rob O'Hara, Paul Harrington, Lawrence Wood, Loggins, Johnny Cerullo, Colton Bowman, tips from the crib, Titan Bradley, Chris Folds with Williams, Dan Bingston, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Chad Austin, Brent Dowdy, Patreon.com/Amigos Podcast. What are we going to play next week, Aaron?
Man, I've never seen somebody just insult so many people at once. Elton John, everyone in the UK, and all of our Patreon subscribers. I'm so sorry. Some places get Patreon goodies. Here, if you've spent the money to get Patreon, butchers your name in a violent way. Next week, I put in a request for a game that I've been licking my chops to get hold of, Battle Squadron. The game that came from the maker of our very first episode's game, Hybris. So it's going to be shoot 'em up fun for the whole family next week.
That sounds like a great one. We'll see you then. Until next time.
Adios.